Hey everybody, this is Alexis Jones over here, and she's going to give her speech. So here we go. All right. Crowd is ready to go here. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Jones.
Have you ever felt completely alone in a crowded room? Maybe you know what it's like to have friends and a big family but still feel lonely. One definition of lonely is isolate, unfrequented, or desolate. Loneliness is a feeling that all of us have experienced one time or another. But have you ever thought about why you're feeling that way? Do you know the reason of why you feel isolated? There are many reasons that one can feel lonely, but I believe a heavy cause today is social media. Spending a lot of time on social media has the power to make one feel extremely isolated. A landmark report released today by Common Sense Media finds that teenagers ages 13 to 18 use an average of 9 hours of entertainment media per day, and that tweens ages 8 to 12 use an average of 6 hours a day, not including time spent using media for school or homework. So I'm going to go through a couple forms of social media, and I want you guys just to raise your hand if you have that form, all right? So Instagram. Who has Instagram in here? All right. Who has Facebook? How are you guys? All right. Who has Twitter? All right. Who has Snapchat? YouTube? Oh, everyone pretty much. All right. So majority of you guys raised your hands for all of those different types of social media. So social media is very, very prevalent, but if we don't handle it correctly, it can lead to isolation. So before social media existed, there was a lot more one-on-one interaction. I remember my mom telling me stories about her and my dad's first dates and all their love letters and how cell phones weren't really a thing, that they couldn't hide behind a screen or text each other all day. They had to communicate in person. So God created us for relationships. Relationships were meant to be one-on-one, not hidden behind a screen. Social media has changed our interaction with the people in our lives. So the next thing is that social anxiety is a real thing and can be the cause to spending a lot of time on social media. Social anxiety is an anxiety problem where a person has an excessive and unreasonable fear of social situations. So instead of that one-on-one relationship, we resort to texting or Snapchatting to avoid being around a lot of people. The issue with that is that we are designed for a relationship, and if we neglect that trait, we start to develop feelings of loneliness and isolation. Although we may have 1,000 followers on Instagram, we may feel like we have no real friends. Though we may Snapchat 10 people a day, we don't actually see them in person. So we are inherently social creatures, but modern life tends to compartmentalize us instead of bringing us together. Professor Brian Pramack from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine said, while it may seem that social media presents opportunities to fill that social void, I think this study suggests that it may not be the solution people were hoping for. So what exactly do studies say? It turns out that the people who reported spending the most time on social media, more than 2 hours a day, had twice the odds of perceived social isolation than those who said they spent half an hour per day on those, or less, on those sites. People who visited social media platforms more frequently, 58 visits per week or more, had more than 3 times the odds of perceived social isolation than those who visited fewer than 9 times per week. So our minds are a tricky thing. So how many of you guys have had a great day, and then you get in bed, you start to scroll on your phone, you start to see different Instagram posts, you see different people at this party, or different people hanging out, or different people doing things, and you feel like you weren't invited, or you feel like you don't have friends. So how many of you guys know that good day, that you had a great day, you sit in your bed, can start to feel like a day where you feel unwanted, can start to turn into a bad day. It can make you feel like you're completely alone. So one thought leads to another, and if we feed those thoughts of feeling unwanted, we begin to actually feel unwanted. Based on an article on Active Beat, there are 5 ways that social media can contribute to isolation. The first way is that social networking provides distraction from real life. If we start to feel awkward in a situation, we will resort to being on social media as an escape. But the issue comes when we neglect dealing with those feelings and let social media distract us. The second way is that social media provides the illusion of companionship. So a study by Mellon University found that when people interacted directly with friends on Facebook, their contentment and feelings of happiness increased. However, if their interaction on Facebook was passive, they reported feeling more isolated and unhappy. The third way is that social media can negatively affect self-image. So how many of you guys have heard the saying, don't compare your worst day to someone else's highlight reel? Oh, yes.
Well,
a lot of of times social media is full of the best moments of someone's life. It's their vacations, their friends, their work, their happy moments. And that can very easily create comparison because we start to think, well, if I had that life, or if I had that car, if I had that house, if I had those friends, then my life would be better. But what's happening there is that we aren't seeing the full picture. We don't see the sad moments of their life. We aren't seeing the difficult things that they go through. So if we're not careful, social media can lead to comparison. Comparison can lead to negative self-image, and negative self-image can lead to isolation. So the fourth way is that social media provides the illusion of social connection. So social media can be good in very many ways in connecting with friends and family, but they can also connect us with strangers, which can lead to bad situations that prove to be dangerous. The last way is that social media reduces intimacy. So this depends on the family and the situation, but I've watched way too many TV shows where families gathered around the table, and instead of talking with each other, they're just all on their phones checking the latest Instagram posts or checking Facebook, checking calls, checking different things.
Yep, that's right,
And
sis.
so, I've even dealt with this with my husband before. We've been on a date, and our first instinct is, get on our phone or whatever. But we slowly realized that if on a date, if we're on our phone, we're not focused on each other. And if we're not focused on each other, we can lose the intimacy. We can lose different things.
Yeah.
So if we begin to reduce intimacy in our relationships by putting a phone in the middle, then we can slowly lose those relationships, which can then lead to isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, social media may seem like a small, innocent thing, but if it leads to isolation, it can become dangerous. According to the New York Post, suicide rates for teens rose between 2010 and 2015 after they had declined for nearly 2 decades. According to data from the Federal Center for Disease Control and Prevention, why the rates went up isn't known. The study doesn't answer the question, but it suggests that one factor could be rising social media use. Recent teen suicides have been blamed on cyberbullying, and social media posts depicting perfect lives may be taking a toll on teens' mental health, researchers say. Cyberbullying is a real thing and is heavily increased because of social media. People think they can hide behind a smartphone, but teens all over the world are dealing with real health issues and struggles because of social media. So there are just some of the ways that social media can contribute to those feelings of isolation. And although social media is a very prevalent tool and can be used for good in many ways, it needs to be monitored. There needs to be more discipline with the amount of time we are spending on social media. We have to learn to be more intentional with the relationships around us. I know for a lot of people, including me, getting on social media has almost become a habit. That, how many times you pick up your phone, the first thing you do is you just get on social media. If you're in an awkward situation, you get on your phone, or if you don't know what to talk about, you get on your phone. And so it has definitely become a habit for a lot of people. And while it's not always harmful, it definitely can be. So whether we realize it or not, social media can lead to isolation. The good thing is that we can change that habit. A business owner and Facebook ads coach, Monica Louie, wrote an article that has 11 ways to spend less time on social media. Here are just some of the helpful tools she gave. So the first thing is to eliminate the chance to get sucked in. So instead of getting on it because you're bored, get on it when you need to check something or update something. So we need to use it for what it's intended for, not letting it replace real relationships. The second thing is to set a limit on how many times you're going to get on it during the day, and also set a time limit when you're on it. A lot of people say 15 to 20 minutes max. So another little side tip here, if you have the Apple, or if you have an Apple phone, they just did an update where you can actually see like the screen time you're spending every single day. So you can go on it and look how many times you picked up your phone, or how many times you've been on your phone. So it's pretty crazy. But Social Media Week says that strategies to reduce loneliness that focus on eliminating negative thought processes are the most effective. Helping people link up with others in person and encouraging people to develop more robust social skills reduces loneliness. So one of the best tools is just to surround yourself with uplifting people. So be involved in current situations, put your phone down at the dinner table, be present with friends and family. So social media is a great tool to keep up with friends or family that you don't see anymore. So I used to live in Indiana, and because of social media, I've been able to keep up with those friends with Instagram and different things. So that's an awesome thing. But the main concern with social media is that we start to limit the time that we are on it. So the more time we spend on social media, the less time we are having face-to-face connections. If we are losing face-to-face connections, we can result in the feelings of loneliness or comparison. If I can leave you with anything, it's that real relationships will always be more beneficial than relationships through a screen. In the same way, you wouldn't just be okay with looking at pictures of the Great Wall. You'd much rather be at the Great Wall and experience it. It's the same thing with relationships.
Yeah.
Instead of just looking at someone through a screen, go enjoy a cup of coffee with a friend.
That's good.
Next time you're
that's
feeling
good.
lonely, try putting down the social media and enjoying the company of family or friends.
Encore.